Welcome to Horror Movies and Beyond. Today, I'm joined by director and star of supernatural thriller, Don't Look Away. Let's welcome Micheal Bafaro and Michael Mitton. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us on.
And you know what? It's so funny because the other day I was like, man, the last movie I saw was something with like mannequins or dolls, was like Tourist Trap. And I was like, man, we need something else. And it was so funny. I got an email about this film and I was like, wow, okay, let me check this out. And I was like, okay, this is creepy. It wasn't how I thought it was going to play out, but it made it more creepy based on how subtle things were and how you didn't see it coming. And on top of that, you didn't see it move, but it did its damage. And I was like, wait a minute. And I had to I was like, did I miss something? In the beginning of this, we meet the truck driver and he gets robbed. And then they find this tall box with this thing in it. Well, they don't know exactly what it is because it has a sheet. But then you hear all this killing and wildness going on once the doors slam, which I love. Because it gets right into it. There's no hesitation. There's no, okay, this whole build up. It's like, this is the problem. This is what it is. Something's in there. We don't know what it is. And then the poor girl, the car and the guy, I was like, it can't all just happen at once. And I'm sitting there looking at this. I'm like, what else can happen? Michael M. I'm going to just say Michael M. So you play Jonah. Tell me a little bit about that, because I know both of you wrote this story, and Michael B, I'm gonna say, you directed it. What was the idea of that character versus, that dynamics of her boyfriend who was like weird? I mean, it was like two stories going on in one.
Yeah, so like, I mean, obviously, like my character kind of exists like in conjunction with her boyfriend. Like her boyfriend is the kind of guy who at one point he probably checked all the boxes for what a good boyfriend was. And, but he's the kind of guy who's got, their life figured out. He's got her life all figured out for her. And with my character, what we wanted to do, like from the script stage and like even like acting it, was like he was a guy who, yeah, you can obviously tell he really likes this girl and he really cares about her, but it's not just like pure romantic, you know what I mean? It's like a heavy friendship kind of thing, because so often in like a lot of horror movies, it's like, the girl and the guy, like my character, they get together and they've got the big kiss and, stuff like that. But it's really like Frankie's movie. It's, she's the one who undergoes this sort of transformation, realization of, what she actually wants out of life. And we wanted a character like my guy who, he doesn't outright say, oh, we got to be together, we've got this or whatever. It's more, he's there to support her when no one else believes in this supernatural mannequin. And, he provides a bit of that sort of, romantic aspect. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's because if you're watching this film, you definitely see two different stories. I mean, you see one, Frankie's relationship. I mean, as soon as she got home and he was just yapping about his day and what's going on, and I was like, man, he doesn't even know what she went through. But that established what kind of character he is, and he plays a very important part as it plays along. But then you have, this mannequin. It is such an interesting movie because we're so used to dolls moving, but you see the stabbings, you see things, but it's just standing there, and it's the anticipation of waiting for it to happen, and it happens, but I mean, it's like seconds. Even, I mean, it's it's like, for me, I was just like, did I see it? Did it happen? Am I crazy? Let me go. I had to go back and rewatch the scene.
And the anticipation sort of just builds and builds, and you keep giving them a little bit here and a little bit there, and then just keeps building. And you never know when it's going to happen, then it happens. And like out of nowhere. So
So I have to say, who's a Stephen King fan? Because okay, because I can see a little bit of that in the, especially with Steve. And obviously the Shining influence in there when he was typing and everything. So who idea was to put that kind of element in there, because it even made it, man, this just elevates the film, because it's not only this mannequin, it's these characters, or their dynamics of them is making even more terrifying. It's like, man, it's just terror all around.
Well, Michael and I, like, The Shining is probably both of our favorite movie, like
from a horror standpoint.
A horror standpoint, because it's also like, it's a movie that's really special to us because, and I'm sure for people in the horror community like yourself who are very familiar with it, The Shining is also a very funny movie. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of like really good bits in there, like when Jack Torrance is driving the family up and he has that line, you hear that? He heard it on the television. And it's like stuff like that. And when we
makes you unsettled, it's unsettling, like
but when we talk to people who like, aren't kind of in that world, people, oh, what's your favorite movie? Oh, The Shining. It's awesome. It's scary. It's funny. And they look at us like, what do you mean it's funny? It's not funny. That guy's trying to murder his family. And we're like, yeah, but there's like all this uncomfortable tension that it's building. Yeah. And so that's what we wanted to do in there. And, it was also something that for us, it's like, you have this concept of mannequin killing people and all that. There's the relationship dynamics. And then having someone like the Steve character literally start to go into this Shining thing, it makes it even more kind of disturbing, because it's like, wow, this guy is now going down the Jack Torrance path.
Did you guys collaborate and say, hey, you know what? Let's choose mannequin. Like, why a mannequin?
Basically, we were both looking for something that we could, we were trying to come up with a new idea for another movie. We had one idea for something else. One day we came across the mannequin in the car.
Yeah, like, well, so
it's like, yeah, go ahead, you tell that.
Well, we had an experience going to see Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. It's the only one of the Friday the 13th movies I'd never seen as a kid. And there was this, it's not very good. It's fun. It's a great fun movie. Like, go watch it. It's super fun. But there's this scene on the boat in this nightclub where the girl, it's this kind of classic scene where she's trying to escape Jason, and there's a bunch of doors, and every time she turns to a door, Jason's there. Like, he's now got teleportic abilities somehow. And it was like, the scene was kind of cool. It wasn't shot that well, but it was like a really cool idea. And then we saw this picture on like Reddit or something of a mannequin sitting in a car. And because we were like, oh, we could do something like that. Like, it doesn't have to be Jason or Michael Myers. It can be just a new kind of thing. And then we saw the mannequin and we're like, wow, from afar, it looks almost human, but you can tell there's something off about it. And then that spurned Michael, because Michael's like, oh, I really love that idea. But from the get-go, the first thing out of his mouth was, it can't move. We can never see the mannequin move, because he really wanted to differentiate it from like doll movies, right? Where the dolls are always doing the little kind of thing.
Yeah, the Chucky type thing. Chucky's been done, so.
Which is nothing wrong with that. Yeah. He just wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
The design, the expression. How did you go by doing that? Because that alone, I mean, once you finally reveal itself and you see it, it's like, okay, the creepy smile, the beady eyes. I mean, the whole look of it. It's not ridiculous. When you see it, it's like, oh, it's a mannequin, you see in a store. No, this one was like, okay, this is different. So what was the inspiration, or was it inspired to look like someone?
I have a friend that has been working, that I've known for years. His name is Ray Lay. Designs for, let's say, Star Trek, all the big budget features. And I asked him if he could do me a favor and come up with something. So we gave him an idea of what we were looking for.
Yeah, he gave us several designs, and this one that we settled on, I think his basis, because we ran into him the other day, and his basis was Perkins.
Yeah, Anthony Perkins.
Yeah.
Oh.
The facial structure is like Anthony Perkins, and the style itself is like a bit of a Jack Nicholson kind of thing.
We meet Victor,
Yes.
who is just as scary as Steve and the mannequin. He appears to be, very helpful, but soon or later, you get to his intentions. But you know what? His intentions were valid. Like, I was actually on his side. I was like, okay, I know this is wrong, but I get it because there was no end in sight. You got to do what you got to do. But I didn't expect the brutality of what he did. I mean, how was playing that character? I mean, because you had different hats on, the director, writer, producer, and then Victor.
Yeah. Michael and a couple of the producers, the executives, coerced me into playing that role. I'm not an actor, but when we were casting the movie, we just couldn't find anyone that had a certain look, I guess, as well. And so they asked me if I'd put something on tape, and Michael was the one who says, "Dude, you can do it. You can do it." So I put it on tape. We sent it off to the executives, and they said, "You have to play that role." So that was very
you did a great job.
On top of, well, thank you so much.
I wouldn't believe that you wasn't an actor, because you did such a great job. And if you had trouble seeing with the context, you were just in character. I mean, you were even more in character because he played blind, and then you were actually blind.
I learned to play the blind person because years ago I worked in a movie called Jennifer 8, where Uma Thurman was the star, and she was a blind woman in the movie. And I worked with her, but not as an actor. I was an assistant director at the time. To take more of a Hitchcock approach to the movie. Spielberg, for instance, like with in Jaws, when he did you didn't really see the shark, until the very end pretty well. One of the creepiest scenes in any movie for me was in Jaws, when the guys are out hunting for the shark, and they've got this big roast, and they throw it out into the ocean, and the guy gets the pier gets pulled off the shore and into the water, and when it's swimming away, and then suddenly turns around and starts coming back. That was so freaking freaky. Way more impactful sometimes. Let the audience fill in what's happening and stuff like that.
Obviously, we never see the mannequin move, but he saw it move from where it was on the street to the closer to the window. I thought that was very that was so cool, and I wish I was that character to see how it got up there. But that's scary. I mean, just small details like that. It's like, oh wow. I mean, was that planned that way, or as you were shooting, were they kind of, it was like it just happened that way in the shot?
He still had to have looked away. He had looked away just brief enough that, like they're all looking. He looks away, they look away. It's very brief, and then it jumps forward, because otherwise it wouldn't have been able to move.
It was probably like fast, because I was looking, and because they all kind of maybe he did, and I probably missed it because I was so focused on that. I was like, did he even look away? Because it was so brief. But you know what? It would have been cool if he didn't, because then that would make it more scary, because then it'd be more focused on Frankie. Well, it was kind of focused on Frankie because they needed more bodies. They needed more bodies, even more creepy. That is a creepy story, a mannequin story. I'm so glad you guys did it. I'm so glad that you guys came together and brought us something else, because there's the same thing, same horror movie out there all the time, same character. But this one was so different and so unique. And I mean, you really have to think, like when you're watching it, you're so focused to see if you see, did it move or did it do this and do that? It's such a mystery. And you're so consumed by the characters. And then you got Steve having this spiral of going nuts. I mean, it was so much going on, but it made sense. And it just add on top of add on. And it just, everything was just like, God, can it get any worse? And it does, and I loved it.
Lots of drama.
Like you said, I mean, we did want to take a very like serious tone with it, because we're dealing with something that is like you said, if you were to tell people, yeah, I think there's a mannequin that's following me and killing people, like it's a ridiculous sort of thing, but it's fun for a movie. And like for us, it was really fun writing all that stuff with Frankie, because she just so genuinely, immediately, you know, that's her world. It's immediately, there's something following me. I don't know what it is. And when she realizes it's a mannequin, it just became super, you know, we'd get those dark chuckles as we'd be like writing it, right? And like the hardest thing for the writing process for us was figuring out these deaths. And a lot of them came like really easy for us, like that opening scene. You know, I remember we wrote it and we were like, "Oh, wow, this is so cool!"
Yeah,
like
we've got to elevate it. We've got to elevate it.
We've got to elevate it, and we've also have to think of things that are like, you know, like that nightclub scene or whatever, or even that bicyclist going behind the van or whatever. It's like, what are things that we can do that, you know, are fitting in this world, but aren't like kind of repeating the same gag over and over again. And, you know, that's even why we do stuff with Steve and all that kind of stuff, because
bring in another element of another threat to the movie. And then just when you think that threat's eliminated, another threat shows up. And then we just kept elevating all these threats. Right? Yeah. You know, so it was fun making it. And it was fun writing.
It looks like a lot of fun. It felt like one of those horror films that you could rewatch and like, hey, I know this great film, and believe me, it's a mannequin, but let me tell you, sit down and watch it. And you could sit down with your popcorn and snacks because it's so different, and we need different. And it was I don't know, it was captivating because I just kept trying to figure it out. And then once it played out of how to manipulate and break free, quote unquote, from this, but then it didn't last very long. So I feel so bad for those guys.
While we were writing it, we also kept in mind, like, Michael and I are huge giallo horror fans, the Italian horror, and other, North American horrors that, that you picked up on a few. But the whole genre of that, and what we wanted to do is pretty well make the movie an homage as well. Like the whole movie is like, if you look at every scene has something dedicated to someone else, like Sergio Martino or
like a big thing that we wanted to do is, we loved those giallo movies, and like there's a lot of people who like, they think they're funny because of the dubbing or whatever, and they can be super funny, what are you doing there? Like they've got this like really funny way of talking.
Barbara.
And, everybody wants to kind of redo American slashers. Oh, we're going to do a remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. We're going to do a remake of Chucky. And we thought, it'd be so cool to kind of like do something in that world, but draws more heavily from this Italian style, and try to do it in a modern way, and not do it where it's like we're purposely. Yeah, like Tarantino and Rodriguez did that with Grindhouse, and I've seen other people who take that Grindhouse approach, which is cool.
But he also applies it to his other films, like like all that, like the Kill Bills and all the zooms, and the techniques that he uses in all his films. I'm sure were inspired by giallo, and Brian De Palma's the same way. Anyway.
It is really interesting. It is creepy. It's different. And when I know I kept saying that and kept bringing up, it is different. And we like different. It doesn't move. The look, the beady eyes, the inviting smile. And then it attaches to you and murder you. So, we need that. We need that kind of film on a DVD in our collection and everything above. So thank you so much. Oh my goodness. I hope you guys do a part 2. I really do. I'm not always for part 2. Some films just do it on its own, but this one, I want to know more. I want to see another one.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ivotres.
Make sure you see Don't Look Away, or that mannequin will get you. It will get you. It's worth the get. But yeah, it is great film. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and enjoy my other videos on my channel.